Hey, how
What's up,
you
Gary?
doing, Isiah?
Doing good. Another day.
No, today, yeah, we had a little bit of a late start here, and we might get some funny internet. We're in the mountains. We're on cell signals. For some reason, our internet is down.
Okay.
Mercury retrograde, man.
Yeah. Universing. So,
Yes, absolutely.
so I got a quick question for you because I know your birthday's coming up here pretty shortly, right?
Sure.
So, what would you say throughout this last year? What has your breath taught you?
Um, through this last year, what has my breath taught me? I think the biggest thing that I've learned this year through breath is that I'm safe even when I think I'm not safe. That the triggers to breathe are habitual, and um, and as I calm my stress down more and more, I need less and less breath. Like I sitting right now, I breathe 2.5 to 3 breaths per minute,
Yeah.
which and I haven't done outside of Tuesdays and the fascia maneuvers. I haven't done an active breath practice. So and that's the other part. The other part that I've learned this year is that when your fascia is open, you breathe less.
100%. 1,000%. That's, I was gonna say, like, I'm on day 18 of doing it twice a day, fascia maneuvers, and obviously being focused on breath. The way I describe fascia maneuvers is literally like making space in the body to breathe better.
Yeah, and something when you're in person with us, you I get people to do this. I get them to wrap their hands around my arm, and I go, and you can feel my arm or my leg breathing.
Yeah.
Just like, because when we sit in water, we absorb water. That's how I did 2 weeks without water in my
Yeah.
fast. And and technically, this is water around us. It's just a thinner version.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we are supposed to breathe or respirate like a membrane, not and the lungs is only the very first part of that for the muscle skeletal system.
100%.
It,
That's,
it's funny to see people look on their face when they touch and I breathe and my arm goes.
I mean, it's what goes back once again, like, why do we think we're any different than plants, right? Like,
Yeah.
you know,
We've been told how we are. And and this is what I say. It's like even if all the other ancient practices were correct, well, first of all, they can't be correct, otherwise everybody would be completely healthy.
yeah,
There has to be some manipulation of even the most pure yogic practices and all that, because otherwise, generally, people would all be healthy because people are doing these ancient practices more than ever. And I find that quite often they're the sickest people.
yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, it makes you think, right? It makes you think. It's like, so the way I describe it is we have a macro, like a spreadsheet with formulas. And if you put in the formula, and if I do this, this happens in the body, this responds, this is my energy, all the formulas work. But what they did is because people have to be able to figure it out, otherwise we would catch on. But what
Yeah.
they did is they took the value of square number one, what is a human being?
Hmm.
And then they messed with that value so that it all works until it doesn't work. And I found this about every practice is that every single practice or discipline of medicine or care, it works until there's a point where it's like, oh, I don't know what to do. And it never works completely. There's nothing that I've done every conceivable practice on the planet Earth to try
Yeah.
and work myself out of my situation. And at the end of it, it came down to me doing these silly little movements every day.
Yeah. Yeah. Because the way when you just described it, it's like I imagine driving up a hill or like even driving down a hill, and then right when you get to what you thought would be like flat, it's like the road just is, and now you're like, well, it was working to this point. Like now, what do I like? Now it's like a panic because it got me this far. What do I do now? And it's like start over. Like
This happened for me a lot of times. So I spent $2.5 million going from therapist to therapist, discipline to discipline over 20 years.
hmm
Then, then when I was on my government-sponsored vacation, um, I got out, and then I was really busted up. So I went to the only person who ever got me out of pain. And I said, "Your neuromuscular practice, the world needs this. So let's build it." And we started the Rubenstein Center. And that was 12 years ago. I think the Rubenstein Center would have been, say, 2013. It would have been 12 years ago this month. So it probably was like 12 years ago right now.
Yep.
And um, and then what happened there was we started the clinic, and I was using this neuromuscular technology to keep myself out of pain, and it worked really fine. And then all of a sudden, I had to do it more and more and more, just like a drug.
Because you're dependent on yeah.
Yeah, and it worked for less amount of time. And that's when I wanted to bring in other modalities. That's how I split with Dr. Rubenstein. Is that I wanted to bring in other modalities because I wasn't feeling good. And I'm not going to sit in a practice and ask people
Yeah.
for $15,000 for treatment if it didn't work for me at the end.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why it's like that's the same for me. It's like self-discovery because of it's no longer doing what it needed to do, or it no longer is the outside of me for something to do. It's like, okay, what do I have with what I can do with what I was born with, you know?
It's like you may hear me say this quite a bit. I say when the pain of staying the same is greater than the pain of change, human beings change. And so when people haven't found their answer yet, and there's and they say they're still looking, it's just the pain isn't great enough.
Mm,
And they'll go, "No, I've been in like all this pain for all these years." And I'm like, look at if really the pain ain't great enough, otherwise you would be coming through
yeah,
this. Or another way of saying it is they always think the pain is physical when emotions are what cause all disease. And I am 100% certain on that. There's no deviation for that.
yeah.
So they may be working on all the physical stuff, and this happens a lot. They work on the physical, but they're still not okay.
So off of that, right? Emotions, physical, spiritual, psychological. Would you say most people are unaware of the emotional suppressed things?
Yeah. So people have all the spiritual because we have intellectualized our spiritual process. We are a spirit.
Yeah,
We are photonic. We
yeah.
generate light. We are light beings by
But we don't know
definition.
what that really means, though. We know it from an intellectual
Right.
knowing of words.
So
But
here's something is that movement is life. And movement, the original movement is breath.
mhm.
And so if I even have a small constriction in my breathing, like my rib cage is constricted, my my body's constricted in some way, my shoulders are tight or whatever, my traps are tight, that affects the amount of breath and it affects where that breath can get to. And so so the origin of disease is the reduction of breath.
Yeah, because the disease affects your breathing or your movement, and if it's affecting your breathing, therefore it's affecting your movement.
Right. And think about the name disease. Just simply means that the body's not at ease. So if
Yeah,
I'm fearful, in my body, if I feel fear, that's not, I don't feel at ease. And if I have a low level, that stops and restricts my breathing, my capabilities. If I carry that emotion for a long period of time, it does things. It rolls my shoulders forward, puts my neck out, makes me hunch
yeah,
down.
yeah.
And what's the standard posture of a young girl today?
Uh, yeah.
And then we put heels on. They put heels on and they go, and then
Mm,
that pushes force up into here so that it can't contract the breath here. So heels, what they do is why women like to wear heels, or well, I can't say all women anymore today, but why human beings like to wear heels is that when you wear heels, you push up here. But if you stand on your tippy toes, try it. Put your hands here and stand on your tippy toes. It pushes pressure into here.
mm.
That constricts the way that the chest can move. And what that
It's like
does,
having a really tight backpack in a way.
yeah. So that what that does is it pushes up here. Well, guess where the reciprocal. So if you put your hand here, so if you put your left hand behind your right shoulder blade and right hand on the right chest, stand up, and you'll feel it tighten under there. That
Yeah.
tightening motion, what that does is it squeezes your adrenals, giving you adrenaline. So why why people like to wear heels is because it pushes a little bit of adrenaline, which creates the emotion of excitement. So there's an excitement, which then is translated into what we perceive as sexual energy. So that's why they feel sexier when they're wearing their heels.
So interesting. It's also interesting because it's like the body creates stress to express an emotion, right? Because it's, you know what I mean?
Emote.
Or to feel or to perceive a feel, you know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
yeah, that's, yeah.
So think about it this way. So yeah, let's talk about this because it'll lead into breath, and I'll show you. I'll give you some human science because we don't publish this, but
Yeah.
and we will at some point. But there's a reason specifically why we don't publish.
Yeah.
And so you have, if you were to step on a piece of glass, from the 28-day reset, it takes a second and a half for that glass to go up the nerves, go through a process through the homunculus, the cerebellum, go back down for motor control. So when we step on, when I was doing nerve conduction testing with a patient, and I'm sitting there with all my smart scientists and doctors, and I'm like, well, how do they move when they step on glass then? They said, well, it's a ganglion reflex. And I said, that just doesn't make sense. I mean, I hear what you're saying, but that means that if I step on glass, I go boing. I have no control. And when I step on a glass or something sharp, I'm moving in a controlled fashion to danger or away from danger. But I move instantaneously, which means that it takes a second and a half. That means that it takes 0.75 seconds at least for that signal to get to the brain, or 0.5 seconds. Well,
Yeah.
I'm moving before that 0.5 seconds is up. So I'm moving intelligently, coordinating all the systems of the body before the brain and the muscle skeletal system knows that there's a threat. So that means that the brain and the muscle skeletal system, muscles don't move the body. So then the question is, what do muscles do for the body? Well, if I'm going to lift something and I can't lift it, I stabilize it. So muscles stabilize the movement of the body. So what moves the body? When I do this, I create pressure. Pressure changes the body, the pressurized body.
Yeah.
There's 2,000 pounds of pressure on our body, 14.7 pounds per square inch. That means that we're actually exerting 2,000 pounds of pressure up. It takes 50,000 pounds of force to tear fascia. It's the same as a piece of steel, because when someone rips a quad or a pec in a gym, it sounds like someone shot a gun on a quad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bang,
Yeah.
right?
It literally,
So you think about it, that means that we're moving that much force around inside of our body, and it's through a series of membranes or layers of pressure.
yeah.
So then think about this. So if the brain is not moving the body, the brain is then responding to the movement of the body to stabilize the body safely. If I put electricity on my muscle, like if I put TENS
Yep.
unit on here, it goes boom. And then I let it go, it goes boom. It doesn't go like this. It goes boom, involuntary jerking. So when I fire a signal to the muscle, it involuntarily jerks.
Yep.
But and that's why when we do yoga and we're like,
It's the same thing.
it's
that's
involuntary
happening.
jerking. Now the fascia is stable, is making the movement, but the muscle, if it's too tight, it's like tension trying to pull. Like this is your leg. The fascia gets into a position, and it's like, oh, it's trying to hold, and that muscle's contracting, but it has only a violent contraction, so the fascia has to stabilize that movement. So then the question is, where does movement come from? So how do I get a signal before I move? I have to have an emotion called a desire.
Yeah.
So because I can have a thought like I want to get a drink, but if I don't have a desire to get a drink, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
So emotion, energy in motion, moves the body. So I have a stimulation. So I'm going to say it's from the field. I can't prove this part yet.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
field says, hey, dummy, you stubby little human there, you're a little dehydrated. You need some water. And I go, oh, okay, what is that? Oh, I got a stimulation. So that stimulation, poof, creates an emotion. What is it? Am I okay? Am I safe? Oh, I remember that one. that's a desire. Okay, what do I desire? I desire beverage. What kind? All the narratives. Soda. So then once I get the stimulation and I get an emotion, it drives a thought. So
Yeah.
the thought is way down the chain, and the thought says, I want to get emotions. So the thought says, okay, let's coordinate all the activities. So the fascia starts to move with the desire, and then the thought is moving us towards the desire.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. Exactly this. So yesterday I was listening to Three Magic Words, right? And they were saying essentially what creates us, whatever, is our conviction. So our conviction to me is like, how confident are you moving with your breath, with your flow, with your ideas, with, you know what I mean? Like how can you live in a way that's like sturdy, right? If all these things are stabilizing you to create something, then what is your like, what is taking you on the path, and what is the attitude you have on the path? And that's life, you know?
Yeah. And so emotion is what moves the body. Well, emotion is, because we're taught to ignore it, is dysregulated. So we get jerky,
Mm,
sudden movements which fire stress hormones. This is why a qigong master is like, you ever see a fat qigong master?
I don't think so.
No, because they're balanced with their emotions. And this was my thing when I stopped working out to keep my body fit,
Yeah.
and I just did fascial maneuvers in the old video that I have fat. And I was doing these videos, and people are like, "You can't talk about health. You're a fat slob. Go back, pudgy." I mean, for a year, people called me shit.
Yeah.
And I chose not to do anything, but just to do the maneuvers. I wanted to see if I didn't do anything, what would happen.
Yeah.
And then that's how I came to my own belief system about emotions and weight. So
Mm.
So the thing is that we think that it's math, but it's calories in, calories out. I mean, we have lots of people that try to prove it, and I'm on the clinical side going, yeah, but what about all these cases that don't work? Well, it's their metabolism. Well, define metabolism for me. Like,
Yeah.
show
Yeah.
me how I can really measure it.
Yeah. If you can't measure it, you can't manipulate it.
Yeah, and so the idea is that I have water as a solvent. Emotions are toxic. They release when they're stored and released. It creates a toxic. You can see it on people's face. It comes out on rashes.
Yeah.
So when that emotion in the liver, when someone holds a lot of anger, they get a fatty liver. Like I get this all the time. Well, I don't drink alcohol. How do I have a non-fatty liver? My sister-in-law got a liver transplant. She doesn't drink alcohol.
All that anger in the liver that hasn't been processed.
Yeah, so the water goes around the emotion, the organ, and all that fascial tissue, all that webbing. The water and the tubelets sit there. If you want to watch it, fascia magnified 25 times, you see water moving through these little mesh tubes. So it pumps up, waiting for that emotion to release, and the emotion doesn't release there. That water stays there, waiting for it. If it stays there too long, eventually in that tissue it gets brown or putrid, brown fat. If
Yeah.
it keeps staying there too long, it gets white fat. And then the question of these smart scientists and athletes now, they're saying, what's the difference between, adipose fat and fat? Like they're asking these questions, and I'm saying there ain't no difference. It's all the same thing. It's water that's mixed with your collagen and everything that's stayed there,
Yeah.
waiting for that emotional release. And when you release it, when you have a big emotional release and everybody sweats, and then all this stuff comes out, and that's what the breath is doing. That's what we're going to do today. We're going to actually be moving emotions out of the body. And
Yeah.
here's another one too. We do this stuff on urine therapy, and everybody's like, "There's all these toxins in your body," and it's like, and you got to get them out, and you're drinking it back in. I'm like, for all you smart people, less than 5%. It's actually around 3% of your toxins are released by your urine.
70% of
70%
your
is released
lungs.
by your breath.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then 27% is released by urination, or sorry, defecation and sweating. So we virtually do no toxins through our urine. It's very, very low. It's just
Once again,
trace amounts.
that goes back to the cell blocks, right? Our urine is waste, right? If we have to dispose of this in a certain way, right? This is bad, you know.
Yeah, and there's like we put it out. I mean, we took a 10,000 user
I
follower
know. I
hit, but
saw. I saw. Trust
yeah,
me. Yeah.
yeah, and but I'm like, hey, I'm gonna put truth out. You don't
Yeah.
like truth? You don't like that version of truth? And if you feel that version of truth out of every, I had this one guy, I had been doing fascia maneuvers for so long, it changed my life for the better. But if you're gonna post that stuff, I'm done. And I'm like, so you're gonna quit something that changed your life because you didn't like one thing I said? Like,
So let me ask you this though, because this is what I would say. Until you do something you don't really know, right?
that's
When
what I did. I didn't
and,
know.
and, and I've done it too, and the reason I did it was, when I took some mushrooms one time, my body told me like keep this for later, and I was like, I don't know why, but cool. Like I literally didn't know anything, and then I asked somebody that's done it, and they're like, "This is what's gonna happen." And then you do it and experience it yourself, and now you're like, "Oh my gosh, I feel super clear-headed. I feel more electric. I feel more in tune." Why? I don't know, but I just know that that's how I felt, and that's what I experienced. So that's me.
Yeah,
That's my experience. You got to
that's
find
what,
out for yourself.
and that's what I was saying. I'm not an expert in it, but I talk to experts, and I've watched people in clinical situations where they're end of life and death situations use it and recover, and I'm like, like the people that haven't had the experience, like you said, it's just it's if you haven't had the experience, then why would you even comment about it? And it's like, you think that's going to kill you if you do it once? Try it. It's like,
Yeah,
wait, it's like, hey, and then I'm going to go one step further. There are all kinds of things in the weird world of 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 interpersonal relationships where that is done, and it's like, and people do this on a regular basis, and I'm like,
yeah, yeah. I've heard of athletes before games. Anytime they were injured, they would fill their bathtub up with pee and
yeah,
sit
I
in it.
did that. Yeah, yeah,
So
I just you get the homeopathic. The more functional your fascia is, you just like a homeopathic. You just
yeah,
urinate in the bathroom. It's fine.
yeah.
So anyway, so let's get into the original movement. Let's get into the
All right,
cure of
cool.
everything.
All right, cool. So today we're gonna go based off. You said it earlier, and I was gonna ask, what is the like? So when you do a fashion maneuver, say, and then like that, like your heart rates, like your heart rate jumps, and you're like like we're almost trying to catch your breath. What would you
Yeah.
call that? Is that an emotional release? Like, is that a
Well, so all energy is motion, is in motion, is emotion. So the technical aspects of this is what is what is a metabolic function? Like, we have a belief that work equals force times distance works for the body. So the bigger the weight, the longer I carry it, the more work I do. That's only partially true, because when I start doing it over and over again, the body builds all this compensatory action so I don't sweat when I do it. Like if I run up
uh,
a hill every day, after a couple of weeks, I don't even breathe hard. So
yeah,
the metabolic action is down. So if I do a new movement, that's why when you do a pretzel squat for the first time, you're like sweating bullets. So
yeah,
what it is the body is a circulatory system. The blood circulates every 45 seconds like a cycle, and it goes all the way through the body, and it goes into the lungs. The more blood volume, and as we have more demand for that blood to put oxygen in the tissue, more blood has to rush to the lungs through pressure. That pressure of the blood rushing to the lungs is the metabolic effect, which creates our um, which creates our metabolism. That's how, because the more metabolic effect, the more we metabolize.
yeah. Cool. So you know the terminology and everything. I just know the movement that we're gonna do. So we're gonna reference you back to what you just said, and we're gonna experience exactly what you just said.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna just move our neck and our head, our shoulders, just move it around a little bit. I always like to just check in, see like how do you feel now? How do you feel once you oxygenate? That's how I look at it. You're giving your body a very vital nutrient. So all we're gonna do, the first one, we're gonna take our hands, put it down a little bit. We're gonna take our hands, and this one is gonna be a 1, 2, 3. So you're gonna inhale for 3 seconds. You're gonna squeeze your hands and your feet. As you exhale, you're gonna let everything go. Yep, but
Okay,
it's
so
slow. So
squeezing like this, right?
yep, and then it's gonna be a slow let go. So we're gonna just go slow up, and then slow let everything go like a waterfalls.
Feet
Yep,
too, right? Crunching the feet.
yep, yep. Squeeze the ground. Squeeze the ground.
Okay.
Squeeze your hands. Doing 6 of them. Here we go. Squeeze in. Let it go. Yep, breathe in taller. Squeeze high. Let it down slow. Yep, squeeze up taller. Let it go. 3 more. Squeeze tall. Let it go. Exhale it away. 1 more. And release. Now wiggle those toes, wiggle those fingers. Move your neck side to side.
I got a release in my right shoulder already.
Okay. So we're going to do that same thing. Now, what you did earlier, where you pulled it up and then just drop. So, like when you exhale, imagine the way I like to imagine is you're doing like you're strong, and when you let go, everything is like you're dropping all the weight of the
Okay.
world. Say
Okay.
again. All right. We're gonna do 6 of those. So same thing, same concept. Breathe up. When you exhale, just let it drop. Here we go. Inhale tall. Let go. Yep. Again, try to just drop all the weight. Let go. Let go. Last 3. 2 more. Last 1. Let go. And shake it out a little bit. Move your neck, move your head. Come aware.
It's so simple. And I feel it, the change. I said that last week too.
Yeah. Okay, we'll do 1 more off of that. So that same thing we just did. Now instead of dropping, we're gonna inhale up and around. And when you exhale, try to the way I like to imagine is a turtle coming out of its shell. So imagine your body is here and you have to grow 3 inches taller and reach taller than your body knew it could. Okay, so inhale, pull those shoulders up, pull it back into that shoulder, that back, and then stand up taller. Good. Exhale it down into the floor. Good, just grow taller. Best 3. And blow it down. Last 2, imagine a giraffe. And the last one, and relax. And move your neck, move your shoulders, walk around a little bit. Feel taller.
Yeah, I feel taller.
Okay. So now right into that one. Now we're gonna go to the hips. So now basically the way I look at it is SO above, SO below. So our hips are our shoulders are our hips. We gotta find everything in between. Our breath is the connection. So
Yeah.
now everything is gonna be focused on our diaphragm and our hips. So now put your hands like your pinkies right on your hip bone, and
Yeah.
like you're holding yourself. Like imagine, like pretend like You're back in your own womb. Yep. And you're
Okay.
just like that. So now point those toes in just a little bit. And what we're going to do is 3 balloon breaths. So try to expand this as big as you can. And you're standing up tall. When you exhale, squeeze your pelvic floor. Okay. So squeeze those hips, squeeze your glutes. Everything is right here. And then exhale, squeeze your legs, your hips. Yep, like you're getting rooted. Like a tree's getting rooted into the ground, into your body. Yep, every breath, connect to your toes. Two more. Last one, squeeze as you exhale. Good.
That's good.
Okay. We got one more after this one, then we'll do a little short discussion. So this next one, that same concept. Now you're just gonna inhale, lift your toes off the floor. When you
Okay.
exhale, you're pushing all your way into the floor, into yourself, and squeezing, constricting your whole body, letting go after you inhale.
So lifting the toes on the exhale.
On inhale. So
On
inhale
the
up,
inhale. Okay. And
and
then
exhale,
squeeze
you're
down.
push. Yep. Like you're like imagine like inhale like this, like your body. When you exhale, you're pushing everything
Okay.
into the
Got
floor.
it.
Okay. So the way I like it is a tree. You're spreading your when you exhale, you're getting grounded. You're getting rooted. Okay. Hands right on that diaphragm. Really spread wide through that belly. Here we go. 6 breaths. Lift up, exhale, push in and squeeze. Grow tall. And down and ground. Imagine a tree. Grounded. Two more. Best one. And shake it out, walk it off.
Yeah, I could actually feel the right hip, which is slightly tendency to elevate on more contraction in the right side. And I
Mm-hmm.
notice it more now. Like I notice more of a pulling of the shoulder and a lifting of the hip rather than a pulling over. And I
Yeah.
could notice that as I was doing that, I on my right side was tighter, so I squeezed a little harder, pushed it forward, and my right hip started to go.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
That's
you
so
say all the
easy.
time, the
That's it.
body is designed to do what? The body has one design. And what is its design? To fix
Yeah.
itself, to heal itself in the
Feel
right
itself. Yeah.
circumstance, right
Oh man,
environment.
you know what? It blows me away because this is the second time we've done this, and the ease at which we're doing it, it's so simple.
Yeah.
I'm not, I like hyperventilation I do with Ryan and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
this is so simple. It doesn't threaten anything, and I feel charged, like I feel goosebumps.
Yeah.
Wow.
The way I look at it, what I've understood more and more through human garage and all these things, the body is in stress. The body is under stress. How do you get the body out of stress? How do you get the body into restore mode? You know,
Yeah.
there's so many ways to do it. Which way can you actually consistently come back to that you always have the
Well,
tool?
this is what I like about what you're doing. It's very aligned with fascia maneuvers because in like yoga or most practices, you exasperate adrenaline through stretching or moving or pushing, and then you drop, and that's Wim Hof and stuff like that. The challenge, it works, but the challenge with that is if you do it over and over and over again, you're pushing your adrenaline buttons and your body fatigues out. It
Yeah,
creates long-term issues. But this is without creating any stress in the body, you're actually dropping, which is a fascial maneuver. That's what it does.
yeah, 100%. So So we'll do three more of them, and then we'll just finish out with that. So this next one, um, when we inhale, I just want us to stand tall. Like imagine like so everything I do like imaginary things so I can see. So imagine a soldier and you're just connected with your team. Whatever that means, whatever that looks like for you. So is that now in this life, in the past life, whatever, you're just gonna stand with both hands over your heart. You're gonna stand up as tall as you can. Just 3 breaths. We're gonna do 3 through our nose, then 3 through our mouth. And every breath, just stand up taller, connecting to your own heart. Here we go. 3 breaths. Inhale through your nose. Blow it all the way out. 2 more, even bigger. All the way out. Last one. And release. 3 through your mouth. Release. Bigger. Release. That's one. Release. Next one, we're gonna reach tall and wide like a star. You can move your feet wide too, so you really take up space. 3 breaths through our nose, 3 breaths through our mouth. Every exhale, tell your body release. Here we go. Inhale through your nose. Release. Bigger star. Release. Bigger star. Release. 3 through our mouth. Best one. Feel the energy. Last one. Hands on our hips. Stand tall just like that first one. Now you're just grounded and rooted in all your strength. 3 through your nose, 3 through the mouth. Here we go. Through the nose. 3 through our mouth. Release. Release. And release. And then before you end, give yourself a hug. Tag yourself on the back. Tell yourself great job.
Good job. Good job, Gary.
That's it.
Wow. It is. I mean, I'm still shocked how simple, how easy, and how rewarding the practice is. Do you
Yeah.
do this every day?
A form of it. So it's kind of normally what I do is 20 minutes human garage, and then I do this because now it's like I literally feel like I'm like discovering what I don't know, right? Because now I've unpeeled layers, traumas, whatever emotions, and now it's about learning my body and learning what gets the body to be upright in alignment so the body efficiently breathes.
Have you ever done these ones?
Nuh-uh. I mean, not in a while.
Here, yeah. Take your elbow, right elbow. Take your left hand, turn the skin, go over, lean over, turn your head into the elbow, and breathe in 3 times. Then take your right foot, step behind, and lean over more.
That's different.
Yeah, so
That's upper body. That's upper body reset.
yeah, it's in I no, it's in the Barefoot Sprinter routine number 2. It's on our website. And let's do the other side. Turn the head into it, breathe in. Left foot behind. So, the fascia maneuvers is like a menu of stuff. So what we've done on our website now recently, most people haven't gone there because it's brand new, is we put all these short routines that we do. That's called the Barefoot Sprinter routine number 2. Also do the wrist. And here, actually, you'll feel it. So take your right hand, put there, take your left hand, turn the skin inward. Now turn the hand outward more. Feel that tension? Now pull the hand up and push the hand through. So pull the left hand up and push it through, and then go like this. And then you do it all over. Now, interesting enough, take a breath and see, check right, left side. Right side's easier.
It's a lot easier. It's like I
So
literally feel like it's like you put a electric glove on. That's how I literally. Like,
remember what I was saying earlier about the body's pressurized, and when you touch my body, when I breathe, you'll feel it expand, and you can touch my finger, and you can feel a slight expansion in my finger or my hand when I breathe, because the fascia is loose, so I have like a balloon. Let's do the other side though. Left hand, torque, turn, and then pull and push the hand through. And I even move my fingers together sometimes like this.
so the first thing I thought of is literally this is literally clearing the channel so your body can like eliminate. Like it's
Yeah, actually, you're right. This is large intestine and this is lung. That's elimination.
yeah. That's how I felt. That's what I literally feel like.
That's literally it's for grief,
Yeah.
and that's elimination. And you can do it. Let's do one more. Take your arm like this. Take your right arm, check it out. Take your left hand, grab the skin, rotate it around the femur, so turning outwards. Now put it at your side. Pull the skin down and pull your shoulder up, and then move. Keep pulling that shoulder up. And then also lift the hand outward, reaching up, trying to pull off like a wetsuit. Wow, I did some stuff on the weekend and now I'm feeling it kick in like I literally feel like I'm doing psilocybin right now.
I love this so much because literally now this is literally what happens to me. That just happened. Now my body and brain are saying, how do I recreate that exact feeling or experience with very low effort? You know what I mean?
Exactly. By
Like
having
that's literally what's
breath.
happening to me as
So
I'm
when
like,
you
oh,
constrict your fascia,
yeah.
so let's do the other side. So when you constrict your fascia, just like that, and turn the hand inward, just breathe. It changes the pressure. So hand down, pull the fascia down, lift the shoulder up.
Incredible.
Yeah, so when the body, it's a balloon.
Yeah.
And so if I squeeze part of this balloon and I breathe, the pressure has to go somewhere else. It's like an
Yeah.
air mattress, right? And we just don't think of our body that way. We see the body as fascia dominant movement, pressurization. So like when the fascia stabilizes, all those little mesh things that carry water, they're like tubes and they go and they pressurize, you go boop, 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 and they pressurize up in milliseconds with water. You can see it on fascia magnified 25 times. You can actually see it happen.
Yeah.
And that happens. And then all the tissue, the muscle tissue, the nerves and all that move through that webbing of fascia. That's why when our fascia gets dehydrated, it contracts on a muscle or on a nerve. That's why dehydration is the enemy of the body.
Yeah. Yeah. That was powerful.
Yeah, so now you can play around a little bit more and just it's what we're doing is we're gonna have diagrams and videos and stuff like that that start to explain this so people can conceptualize it. But part of the reason why we didn't release a lot of the science on this is because people would dive into the science without the experience.
Yeah.
And if they do that, they're going to miss it. They're going to do the same thing that they did with fascia maneuvers, that they did with yoga or
Yeah.
with qigong or whatever.
Yeah.
They're going to get in and intellectualize the practice. So what we just did is here, do it.
Yeah. What would you say? How have you been able to navigate the experience more than and then adding, right, the supporting cast instead of saying this is information, this is science, this is, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
because
it's
you've
been.
done
I
a
mean,
great job at that.
we
You've done a
we
great
spent
job.
about that. I mean, especially up front. Up front, people are like, There's no science on this. There's no science on this." And I'm like, "You guys, science is the testing and trying of things. I'm not going to let other people like. I'm not going to let people taste the food and tell me, oh, that's good. That tastes good. This one tastes good. I'm going to go taste it myself.
Yeah.
That's what science is. It's like, here, let me taste the food. I'm going to tell you all about it, so you don't have to taste it yourself." And I'm like, "That's not science. They're completely the opposite of science." So what we call science today through the peer review is a like contest. How many people like you? It has nothing to do with truth. Nothing.
Yeah.
And you see this because you have new science coming up right now, which contradicts eons of belief systems. And then people are going, yeah, like when there's more peer reviews, then I'll test it. I'm like, you're gonna let. Sorry, what'd you say?
I said people wait for the credible university to come out with a study for them to
Yeah.
deem something as yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's such a bizarre because we've got a culture that says this is the right way to do it, but human beings are designed to experience because your experience eating or doing something is going to be different than mine. Science is in the reporting and the observation and reporting of that experience, and if there's a difference, to explain why.
So yeah. Well, yeah, you can't put experience into one size fits all. One person has this experience when they do this, another person has this, but we're gonna say, well, this is what we want to say, so we'll say that. Because
And it's like the
even
other part about it too is we all have completely different genetic patterns. So if I impose
mm,
something on my body, by default, it has to activate. I have twins, identical twins, that I've
yeah,
done experiments with over the last decade and change.
Yeah.
And one thing that was bothering me is like, why when I have identical twins, I apply the same treatment and I have different results. And it's just the way it is. It's like, I'm like, no, that's if it's exactly the same biology and
Yeah.
genetics, then it has to act the same. If it doesn't act the same, then you need to explain why it's not acting the same. And this is where I was at with my doctors and my scientists, and I'm like, you can't just say, well, that's the way it is. So what I found is that the way that we process twins, they still have a unique experience. They see things from different angles. So one sees an action on their parents from the front and perceives a threat. The other one saw it as an action and perceived the helping, but they didn't communicate to each other. So one thought there was a threat, one thought there's a help. Well, that changes my experience, the way I act later on.
Yeah. Yeah. I heard somebody say recently, long-term happiness is determined by our perception of life, not what happens to it. 90% of our long-term happiness comes from our perception of what happened.
I'm
So
gonna say
once I heard,
100%.
well, I know, but I was like, but yeah, it's really like whatever you see, whatever you articulate it as, however you know,
If
it's
you have a pain here in your body, if I inflict a pain on you and start squeezing really hard, and I
yeah,
take my hand, you take your hand, you put it right up where I'm inflicting it, the pain drops by 50 to 70% the second you do that. So that means the body's perception is that I'm paying attention to it. So now the signal of pain reduces its frequency.
because you said because I remember last week you said when I have a two pain and I think fear, it goes to an eight, right, or it goes to a six.
Yeah, if you're stressed out, you can a two pain can be anywhere from a 4 to an 8, depending on the level of stress. So
Yeah,
basically, pain is your body's way of it's the most programmable way to adjust the body's reaction and action and reaction. And so what we've done is demonized pain and said it's bad. And so what happens is the fear of pain doubles the pain because
mm,
fear is the
that's true.
emotion.
Yeah, that's true. And that's why people would choose to not do very simple things, human garage, breath work, very simple things because they have to feel whatever emotion is.
Yeah, it's like you're gonna go get in a people that go do this, they can experience this in like a cold plunge.
Yeah,
Is that they stand outside, then they get in, they do it, they get out, and they're like cold, but then they get out. They normalize, they get out, and then they have such a good experience. So what is so hard about getting in there? It's the release of emotions. You're building up emotional energy to do things. And this is
yeah,
one thing we don't, and it's like, here's another way to look at it. If you got to go pack up your buddy's house, your friend's house, and or you got to pack up your house takes longer and it's harder than it is to pack up somebody else's. Why? Because everything that you touch
emotion.
has some sort of memory and emotion attached to
Yeah,
it.
that's true.
I experienced this once. It's I wasn't feeling well and I had to move. It was a corporate move though. So in other words, the movers were coming in, packing everything up and unpacking it. And so I was so stressed out. I just got up in the morning and says, I can't move. I'm not going to move today. And the movers were already there. And I'm like, oh shit. So anyways, so I was waiting for this big, long, exhaustive thing. 2 hours, they had packed up the entire house, 3 bedrooms. And you're like 10 guys or whatever. And then boom, moved it over and 3 hours unpacked it all. And I'm like, that was super painless. But every other time I'd moved 50 times in my
You.
life, I did it myself and it was painful. And this is where I started to recontextualize what emotion does to motion or movement.
That's so interesting. I bet a lot of people like literally don't want to move because of what you just said. Like
That's why they don't
it's
want to move. Yeah,
yeah,
it's like the pain of, like, what do I do with this item? My dad gave it to me. Yeah, but it's been sitting there for like 9 years. You've never touched it.
yeah,
So give up all your possessions and follow me, and you too shall find the kingdom. Well, at first I started giving up all my material possessions. Like I only have some shirts and shorts now. I don't own anything.
Yeah.
And I thought that was the journey, but what it was, that was at first, it was the emotions that were attached to why I bought it, when I had it, what I did in it. But then after that was all gone, my possessions were all my beliefs about things like safety and money and relationships. And and it just keeps going deeper, deeper and deeper.
Yeah. The
I'm at the
possession.
end of that journey, I feel. Like I don't I don't have too many things in my life right now. Like like some of the social things, like some some guy at 71 years old was talking about Peyronie's disease. I'll tell you one today. And that's when it's a curvature of the penis and they can't get an erection, right? And it's kind of painful, and he's 71 years old. And can you imagine that? It's like what that does to your psyche, right? The amount of care that went into asking that question, and the amount of care within my organization that handled that question to get to me, and then the emotions that were associated with it, which is unbelievable. And I'm like, here's a man who's healthy in every other way, 71 years old, and he really has to ask a question and he doesn't get the right answers. He's trying to get an answer. And I see this, especially, women have this even worse than men because of
Yeah.
all the, if I have a disease or discomfort, I'm ashamed to talk about
Yeah. It's so interesting. It's interesting because it's true, and it's like even if it's like where's the space where people can be authentic? Where is the space where you can really share true authenticity? You know?
it. Here,
Exactly.
we're creating that space. And, we get everything from social and mental disorders to physical things. And we don't always have an answer. But
Yeah.
what we have is the compassion to hear the question
Yeah.
without going,
Yeah. Oh.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I appreciate you, Gary, and whole Human Garage team. It's been an honor and a blessing to share my gift with, all these beautiful people and just Human Garage. Like it's so simple. This is every time I come on here, I really want people to know I had 2 hip surgeries. This completely transformed my life in a way that I know I could.
Mhm.
It took me from it's gonna be a rough one. I'm 19 years old. This is gonna be long life to I'm good. We're gonna make this an amazing life. That was the start of like uncovering traumas, suppressed emotions, all these things that made me realize I can. So breath work has been quadrupled 10x, like thousand. I wouldn't even want to say what number because it really, this is the phrase that I've been saying, make space for greatness.
I
Doing
love
fascia
that.
maneuvers, doing breath work is making space within my body, within my spirit, within this existence to be greater.
I love that. Thank you for saying that. It's a great way to end. I appreciate you, Isaiah.
You too.
Make
Much love.
space for greatness.
Make space for greatness. Peace.